Real Virginia is proudly produced by the Virginia Farm Bureau Federation. Since 1926, Farm Bureau has been working to preserve Virginia farms and our rural heritage. Visit our website at vafarmbureau.org.
Home will always be Virginia, between the Blue Ridge and Chesapeake Bay, Atlantic to Appalachia, home in my heart always.
Hello everyone, and welcome to Real Virginia, a show about Virginia agriculture and the people who produce all of the wonderful local products we all enjoy.
A revived Sale of Champions pulled in thousands of dollars for Virginia youth scholarships. What can you do with your leftover turkey? Make meatballs. And speaking of turkey, we visit one family who's thankful for both the American tradition and their own livelihood.
Welcome back to Real Virginia, everyone. We're on a cattle farm in Powhatan County, and kids grow up on farms like this all across Virginia. And many of them participate in the proud agrarian tradition of showing livestock. But a few determined youngsters get a chance to boost their college savings account by doing so.
The earliest known livestock fairs date back to 1807, and state fairs peaked in popularity shortly after the Civil War. Ever since the beginning, they've been celebrations of American agriculture, including advances in livestock breeding. The State Fair of Virginia has carried on that tradition. This year, organizers renewed the Sale of Champions, a best of the best sale, if you will, to benefit the fair's youth scholarship program.
Gorgeous animals. The exhibitors spent a lot of time, sometimes as much as 6 months in advance, training these animals to be able to lead them, to be able to set them up in a position that it really shows the muscling that the animal has, and it's a lot of skills involved. It's not something an individual could just pick up in 1 year's time. This is the cream of the crop that we have tonight.
This is not a sale in the current sense of putting a price tag on the animal and hoping a customer is interested in buying it. The prize livestock are sold the old-fashioned way, by auction. Everett says there's a bit of nostalgic salesmanship in the auction system.
The enthusiasm of bidding against the guy sitting next to you sometimes creates you to put a situation that you'll put a little more money into that bid. So we're hoping to create a little competition between bidders for a good scholarship program.
It certainly helped this year. About $61,000 was added to the fair's youth scholarship fund from the auction. The young people showing this year get a slice of that, and the rest goes towards awarding scholarships to all youth participants in future livestock shows at the fair. This year, 8 animals were sold by auction. The top 4 blue ribbon market steer, market hog, market lamb, and market goat, along with the runner-ups, or reserve champions. The young winners say any scholarship money is well earned. 16-year-old Jenna Kibler of Shenandoah County worked with her steer for a year.
Every day I rinse him and I work with him and set him up to get him ready for the show and grow his hair by working his hair. He loves it. He's so lazy and laid back. Well, the more you work with him, he gets more used to you, and he's calmer around you, and he's more used to setting up with the show stick and everything else, and it just makes him more calm and ready for the ring.
First you have to get your goat, and then you have to work with it periodically through before you show it. And then when you get to a show, normally you would have the goat clipped and already washed and stuff, and then you will have to make sure that you have the right equipment to go and show the animal. Like goats, you have to have this chain so you can present it. And then as soon as you get out in the show ring, you usually walk it and then set it up, and then as soon as the judge comes, you brace it.
Kibler's been showing animals for 7 years, Griner for 5. Like Cody Bowden of Frederick County, they have a passion for the competition and the animals.
Pretty much their tool of teaching us leadership, hard work, dedication. You got to be there no matter what the weather is, no matter if you're sick, whatever. You got to get it done, and it's almost like a job. Just teaches us about life, and it's a good time. I meet many friends from across the country,
This was Bowden's last chance to show. He's 18 and already studying animal science at Hutchinson Community College in Kansas. Like him, most of the show participants are already hoping to make agriculture their career. The scholarship dollars they earn will certainly help them carry on this proud tradition of American agriculture.
Using an auction to sell goods dates back to the Roman Empire. It fell out of favor in Europe for centuries after Rome fell, but it was revived in England in the 16th and 17th centuries and made the jump across the pond to America. Auctions have become a principal way of selling livestock in rural America, both before and after the Industrial Revolution. While these sales have traditionally been live events, beginning in the late 1980s, technology began changing the livestock auction. Television auctions on lots of cattle were followed by satellite TV auctions and then internet auctions. Today, cattle and other livestock can be sold sight unseen by auction to buyers all over the world on a number of websites.
I'm Mark Viette. Fall is a great time to divide a lot of your garden plants like hostas, ferns, and dahlias. If you want to learn how to do that, stay with us.
Dazzling lights on winter nights will put you in the mood for the holiday season. It's the Illuminate Light Show at Meadow Event Park, November 21st to January 2nd in Caroline County. This spectacular holiday lighting event takes travelers through a musical show of color, lights, and design. Giant animated displays and illuminated trees lead to Santa's Village, where families can visit Santa Claus and enjoy the sights and magic of Christmas. To learn more, go to illuminatelightshow.com.
Smokey just gave me a bear hug.
Now that the growing season is over, it's time to divide some plants for next year. Mark Viette shows us how in the garden.
Hostas grow in a variety of heights, shapes, sizes. Some are ground covers and produce lots of new little crowns, and some just produce a few large crowns, and you can't really make as many of those when you're dividing them as you can with a variety like this. You can also look at the number of old flower stems. For every one of these, like right here, there's 5 flower stems. For every one of these, you could make at least one plant. All you need to do is just take your shovel and go down, and if the soil is great, you can just lift them just like this. It's that easy. And then what I usually do is take the back of a shovel and gently pull off any old roots that don't look great, and I also loosen the soil. Now, there's a couple ways that you could divide this. You could divide this plant sort of in clumps. If the plant is a little younger and not too old, you can almost pull apart some of these plants. And so I've got 1, 2, 3, 4, and this would be 5, 6. So I'm going to lay them right down here so you can see the specific plants and really how many that you could make from just a section of your grouping. And then you're ready to plant them right back in the ground. There's a different way that you can divide and propagate some of your hosta. Let's say you've got this huge, nice, giant hosta with big leaves. What we find is when we dig them and divide them, it takes a couple years to get those big leaves again. So let's say you've got a relative, a friend, a neighbor who really likes one of your hostas and you want to share one of these with them. Instead of digging the whole plant, you can go in and find a good place just to dig a section of that plant. We also can do this with peonies. It's another plant. You can just dig maybe 1/5 of the plant and share it. So what you want to do is look at the base of the plant and see where there are some natural separations. And what I find here is that this plant has a natural separation right here. So you take your shovel, and once you find that spot, you then can go ahead and dig straight down. You probably have to dig probably maybe 2 or 3 times around this plant, because in this case you're not going to really shake the soil off because we're not dividing it. We're just digging a section of the plant. And then I'm going to come around here on this side and then do the same thing. Try to get a little bit of that root ball and not damage the plant. So I'm going to come right here. And then when I dig this plant up, this is what I'm going to have. Nice root ball. I might take a little bit of the soil off here. And this plant is ready to be put right in the garden. Keep in mind, the height of the plant is how far apart it should be from another plant so they look great in the garden and they don't become overcrowded. The other recommendation is to go ahead and cut all the foliage off when you're getting ready to plant this little mini clump. I'm Mark Viette. Join me next time in the garden.
For more garden tips, go to inthegardenradio.com.
There will be lots of turkey served this holiday season. We'll share a new recipe for leftovers next from Heart of the Home.
I love being a dairy farmer because it's an adventure to be a dairy farmer. It's a new beginning every day.
Every day I can get up in the morning and have a smile on my face, whether it's raining or whether the sun's shining. I love what I do.
Growing up on a dairy farm, I think you learn to work really hard and don't take anything for granted.
There's a lot of work to do on a dairy farm. You have to be committed.
It's a huge responsibility that we have being farmers. We take pride in it and we're proud to be able to do it.
Every day we have the opportunity to provide a wholesome product that's vitamin rich and nutrient full.
It's a feel-good feeling knowing that I'm putting food on somebody else's table and that I'm doing a good job doing it.
I'm Ken Smith.
I'm Ben Smith. And I'm dedicated to dairy, my cows, my milk, my land.
Ever wonder why turkey is the featured dish at the holidays in America? Turns out it started for practical reasons. Cows were more valuable alive than dead, roosters were tough, and egg-laying hens were useful as well. But turkey as a holiday dish dates back to the colonial period as a tradition that came over from England, where it was considered a decadent treat. By 1863, when President Lincoln proclaimed Thanksgiving a national holiday, turkey was already the most popular center of the meal. Turkey became popular at Christmas as well when it was mentioned by name in Charles Dickens' A Christmas Carol, a very popular book in the U.S.
Well, what are your plans for Thanksgiving leftovers besides a turkey sandwich? Former Miss America Caressa Jackson has a recipe for turkey meatballs in the Heart of Home.
Hi, I'm Caressa Jackson for Heart of the Home, and I'm cooking at the kitchen at Meadow Hall at the Meadow Event Park. Today we're going to be making turkey and mushroom meatballs over spaghetti squash. Spaghetti squash can be found at your local farmers markets all across the state this time of year. So the first thing we're going to do is start by cutting our spaghetti squash in half lengthwise. So we're going to start. Sometimes the skin of your spaghetti squash is a little tough, so I start by going ahead and just putting it right in the center, and then we'll wiggle around a little bit until we get the entire thing cut. So don't be discouraged if it doesn't cut all the way. Now that we have our spaghetti squash cut in half, you'll see that there's like hairs and seeds, and we want to go ahead and get rid of that. So you can just take a spoon and your thumb, and we're going to just get as much of the guts out as we can. On a foil-lined baking sheet, we want to take a little bit of olive oil and sprinkle it on the pan just to ensure that our spaghetti squash doesn't stick to the pan. We've preheated the oven to about 400 degrees. We're going to stick our spaghetti squash cut side down. We're also going to add a little bit of water to the pan to help with the steaming process. We're going to bake these in the oven at 400 degrees for about 20 minutes. While our spaghetti squash is cooking, I went ahead and got started on our meatballs. For this recipe, we've gotten all of our foods for our partners of Relay Foods. We're so thankful to have them. So we started off with chopped mushrooms, about 8 ounces, about a half a bunch of chopped parsley, a half cup of Parmesan cheese, and we used about 4 cloves of minced garlic, a pinch of salt, and 1 egg. This is a great recipe if you want to get your hands dirty, or if you don't want to get your hands dirty, bring your kids into the kitchen and let them get their hands dirty. Poultry is the #1 commodity in the state of Virginia, so it's a good chance that you will be using Virginia turkey in your recipe. So I'm going to go ahead and finish up making our meatballs. I'm making about 1 to 1.5 inch meatballs. This is definitely a great recipe if you want to prep ahead. At this point in our recipe, you could freeze and or put your turkey meatballs in the refrigerator to cook later or on another day. But today we're going to go ahead and bake ours for about 20 minutes on 400. All right, I've recently taken our spaghetti squash out to cool. You want to let it cool for about 10 or 15 minutes or until you can handle it to the touch. But while our meatballs are still cooking, we're going to go ahead and make our tomato sauce. I'm going to use 1 14.5 ounce can of roasted and diced tomatoes. The other half of our minced garlic, so about 4 cloves of minced garlic. A pinch of red pepper flakes. And a little bit of salt. If you're a person who doesn't like a super tomatoey based sauce, you can go ahead and add a pinch or 2 of sugar just to take off the edge of the tomato. We're going to bring this to a boil for about 5 minutes. So our spaghetti squash is all done. I went ahead and started shredding them. So what you're going to do is you're going to hold the spaghetti squash in the palm of your hand and then use a fork to basically just grate out the meat that's on the inside. And you'll see that there's really nothing you need to do. It's going to create the spaghetti strings on its own. You just want to get as close to the inside of the flesh as possible. And we can go ahead and set this to the side. Our tomato sauce is right at a boil. We're just going to stir it a little bit and then put it on low to simmer. And our meatballs should be up in just a moment. All right, our turkey meatballs are all done and we are ready to serve. So we're going to go ahead and start by putting a little bit of our spaghetti squash noodles on our plate. I'm going to take a couple of our meatballs, put them on top of our spaghetti squash, and drizzle it with our tomato sauce. Awesome. And if you have a little leftover grated Parmesan cheese, you can go ahead and sprinkle that on top. It's so good. And there you have it, turkey and mushroom meatballs over top of spaghetti squash. I'm Caressa Jackson for Heart of the Home. Come and get it.
Recipes from the Heart of the Home can be found on the Virginia Farm Bureau website at vafarmbureau.org. Visit the Virginia farm that produced an American legend. See the birthplace of 1973 Triple Crown champion Secretariat, now a Virginia Historic Landmark, at Meadow Event Park. Our Hoofprints of History tours are given year-round by reservation. It's a perfect day trip for families, groups large or small, and anyone who loves horses and history. Resident author-historian Leanne Meadows-Layden conducts the tours and shares behind-the-scenes stories about Meadow Stable and its most famous son, Secretariat. Meadow Event Park also hosts the annual Secretariat Birthday Celebration at the Virginia Horse Festival each spring. The festivities at the State Fair of Virginia at Meadow Event Park include an annual salute to Secretariat during both weekends. Come see where the legend lives on. Visit Secretariat's birthplace at Meadow Event Park.
A focal point for most Thanksgiving family get-togethers is still a beautifully roasted turkey. But as Dave Miller reports, Virginia turkey growers are thankful all season long.
Craig and Nancy Miller raise Angus cattle and lots of turkeys on their farm in Rockingham County. In fact, the family farm will soon be a century farm in Virginia. In 1986, just 2 years out of college, Miller remembers building their first 50 by 800 foot turkey house.
My dad used to raise 3,000 or 4,000 turkeys at a time, which back in the day, back in the late 50s and early 60s, seemed like a lot of turkeys. They would start those birds in a house and then they would take them out and range them. Just technology got better. We went from about 114 days to getting a hen to market to we're down to 88 days, getting the same weights, great feed conversions, and it's absolutely no antibiotics in the feed. There's no hormones in the feed.
It's hard to believe that farmers used to herd flocks of turkeys to market, just like cattle. The modern enclosed house turkey industry began in 1922 here in Rockingham County, when William Wampler first used an artificial incubator to hatch turkey eggs. Today it has grown to one of the largest sectors of Virginia's farm economy, worth $285 million a year. There are 8 poultry processing companies and more than 1,100 farm families raising turkeys and chickens in Virginia. That makes turkey production big business, but Miller and other growers have also won numerous environmental awards over the years. He has planted buffer zones along waterways on his land to protect them from runoff. If you were to drive by his farm, the first thing you'd notice is that it always looks clean and well kept.
We start 68,500 turkeys at a time. We keep them about 88 days, which will be about a 16-pound turkey, which is something you would find like at Thanksgiving, about that size turkey. We raise 3 flocks a year, so we market a little over 200,000 turkeys a year. We did a little figuring one time. If the average American eats 16 pounds of turkey, which that's kind of the average, we can feed 80,000 people a year, so just this farm alone. So that's kind of puts everything into perspective, and the love and the passion that we have for agriculture, we also help feed the world.
Miller says that in 2012, they raised the presidential turkey at his farm, and his family sat in the Rose Garden for the traditional presidential pardon. He's so successful that film crews have visited his property from as far away as Australia, but there are still production challenges every day.
Even though, you know, our companies pay us well, turkey meat's a healthy product, and it kind of sells itself. We still have to be good managers because input costs are just crazy nowadays, whether it's fuel costs or electric costs or whatever. It's a lot of struggles. It's some nights that you don't sleep very well toward the end of the month when it comes time to pay all your bills. But yet on the other hand, it's just, I wouldn't change it for anything in the world.
It's obvious from talking to Miller that his family loves animals and have a passion for what they do. He's proud to be a part of a uniquely American agribusiness and tradition.
With Thanksgiving, and I never really thought about it, but that's our holiday in the United States. It's nobody else's holiday. It's the United States. That's our day to shine. And every Thanksgiving when I watch a football game or something and they got this big turkey after the game that they're going to give a drumstick to the offensive player of the game or something, I think, you know, I am very proud that that's kind of our holiday, and we maybe raised that turkey that they got on TV or whatever. And so I'm very proud of the fact that come Thanksgiving, you know, that's really focuses on the turkey industry.
The Old Dominion is the nation's 4th largest turkey-producing state, and all that started in Rockingham County a little less than a century ago. Miller respects that history and says that the founding fathers of the poultry industry would be proud of the levels of production and quality represented by farms like his. In Rockingham County, Virginia, this is Dave Miller.
We are so glad you could join us this week to celebrate all the bounty that Virginia has to offer. From the kitchen to your home and garden to our beautiful wide open spaces, we're proud to say that this is real Virginia. So from everyone here at the Virginia Farm Bureau, thanks for watching and make it a good week.
Home will always be Virginia, between the Blue Ridge and Chesapeake Bay, Atlantic to Appalachia, home in my heart always.